What up, fight fans? This is Linares Picks. We're doing picks for UFC 252. We're going to hop right into them. First fight, starting off the early prelims, we got Kai Kamaka versus Tony Kelly. Kai Kamaka, 0 win, 1 loss, versus Tony Kelly, 5 wins, 1 loss. With this one, I got to go Tony Kelly by submission. Don't know too much about these guys, but Tony Kelly got some good submission wins, so I'll go with him. Moving on to the next fight, we got Chris Daukaus versus Parker Porter. For this one, I think Parker Porter has the edge. He's fought better guys. If you look at his record, he's fought John Jones, lost to him, and Gabriel Gonzaga, he lost to him. But he has more experience, and I think he's going to beat Parker Porter I think he's going to beat Daukaus by a KO. Moving on to the next fight, starting off the prelims, we got Ashley Yoder versus Livian Souza. The way I see this fight going, Souza's going to pressure Yoder, get her up against the cage, probably get takedowns, and pretty much beat up Yoder for 3 rounds and get a unanimous decision. Souza by unanimous decision. Next up, we got TJ Brown versus Danny Chavez. TJ Brown has 1 fight in the UFC. He lost. Danny Chavez making his UFC debut. TJ Brown seems to be more of a wrestler, likes to go for submissions. In this fight, I think TJ Brown has fought better people. Look at Danny Chavez's record. A lot of people he fought have no wins. So I go TJ Brown by submission. Next up, Felice Herring versus Verna Jandiroba. Jandiroba coming in as pretty big favorite, 15-1. Felice Herring 14-8. I think Verona is going to be way too much for Felice Herring. I think she's better on the feet and way better on the ground. But Felice Herring's a tough girl. She's going to fight on the ground, and I think she's going to defend the submissions. And Verona is going to take a decision win. Next up, a very close fight, very hard to call. Jim Miller versus Vince Pichel. Looking at this fight, I have no idea who to choose. Pichel loves to wrestle, 4 takedowns a fight on average. Jim Miller, on a little bit of a streak, tapped out Roosevelt, and Robert Roosevelt was the opponent for the last 2 guys. Yeah, thinking about this fight is a tough one, but I think Jim Miller has the veteran experience, and Pichel, surprisingly, is older than Miller at 37 years old. Jim Miller has fought some legends in the sport. I think he takes the fight on a decision win. All right, moving on. John Dodson versus Merab Valishi. For this fight, there's a lot of hype for Merab coming in. He's on a win streak. Let's see how much of a win streak. He's on a 4-fight win streak, all 4 by decision. Dodson coming off a hot KO. And Dodson, the guy really with a lot more experience in this fight, 22-11. He fought Demetrius Johnson. He won 3 rounds with Peter Yan. He beat Nathaniel Wood, who's been tearing up the division. And he beat him convincingly by knockout. So I don't know why Merab is coming in so hot. He is with a great camp, Matt Serra. His ground game is going to be really good. But I think Dodson's going to get him with his in and out movement like he always does, moving around the cage, running around. popping in with some jabs, and he's going to be able to avoid takedowns, and he's going to take the fight by decision. Dodson by decision. Next up, Herbert Burns versus Daniel Pineda. Pineda, I believe he's making his UFC debut. 26 wins, 13 losses. Was in the PFL. Won his last 2 fights. Herbert Burns has a lot of hype coming into this fight. Gilbert Burns' brother. You know he's training with him. You know he's getting that championship level work in at the gym. And looking at his last couple of fights, Herbert Burns has destroyed people. So I got to go with what did I have here? I got to go with Burns by submission. Burns by submission. Following Burns versus Pineda, we got Junior Dos Santos versus Jairzinho Rozenstruik. Junior Dos Santos, former heavyweight champion, had a trilogy with Cain Velasquez. This is another tough fight to call. Got me stressed. I need a beer. This is a tough fight. You definitely can't sleep on Junior. He's coming off 2 losses, though. 2 knockout losses. But before that, he KO'd Derek Lewis. He KO'd Tai Tuivasa. KO'd Ivanov. Or no, decision with Ivanov. So he's still beating the best guys in the division. Lost to Ngannou. Everyone loses to Ngannou. And lost to Blades, which was not his best performance. That being said, we have Rozenstruik, who just lost to Ngannou as well in 20 seconds. But before that, he was knocking people out in the first minute of the first round. Dos Santos can definitely use his jab like he likes to do, work off his jab. But Rozenstruik has had a full kickboxing career. I give the striking edge to Rozenstruik. I think if he lands any punches, Dos Santos is going to go out. So I go Rozenstruik by KO. Next up, I think one of the biggest mismatch for the odds. You got Sean O'Malley coming in at minus 310 and Marlon Vera at plus 255, which makes no sense to me. This should be way closer. I would put O'Malley at maybe minus 150 and Vera at plus 125. Vera's a beast. I don't know why they're sleeping on him. He won his last fight. Judges messed that one up. And before that, he was KOing and submitting his opponents left and right. People talk about Sean O'Malley's range and his height, his reach. But Marlon Vera just fought Andre Ewell, and he had a 5-inch reach disadvantage in that fight, and he beat him up really bad. With that said, Sean O'Malley has been walking through the division so far, but he hasn't fought the top-ranked guys. He's really been growing into his style, though, in the UFC. He's really good at throwing strikes from far away. He is going to outrange Vera. He's really good at abusing that distance. He has big power, and he can kick from any angle, and he uses both legs. So he can maintain that distance really well, keep Marlon away, pick at him. We have to remember they have a shorter cage this time, which I think favors Vera. He doesn't take steps back, he only moves forward. So he could potentially pin O'Malley up against the cage and take away that distance. And if O'Malley makes one mistake, Vera can snatch up a guillotine, then go for a takedown, and once they're on the ground, I think Vera's got all the advantages there. With all that said, I see two scenarios happening in this fight. The first scenario is O'Malley is able to keep his distance, using those kicks, using those teep kicks, side kicks, and his jab to keep Vera away and move outside and circle, circle, circle for 3 rounds. And just kind of pick Vera apart and get a decision win. Other scenario, Vera comes in, lands some hard leg kicks like he's done to previous opponents early in the first round, slows down O'Malley's movement, and gets him tired over 1 or 2 rounds, takes him down, and gets a KO on O'Malley. Which one of those two scenarios are more likely? I'm leaning a little bit towards O'Malley. He's undefeated. They will be able to see some of the holes in Vera's game. But I think this is a really close fight. If I were betting, I might put a small bet on Vera because it was a big payout. But I got O'Malley by decision. Next up, we got the main event. Stipe Miocic versus Daniel Cormier. The fight that will determine who the greatest heavyweight of all time is. And that was not an easy pick either. That one is probably the hardest to pick on the card. You got Miocic, who in the last fight made one of the best adjustments probably I've ever seen any fighter make in a fight. 4th round, they're both tired. He's getting picked apart, and he decides to go for liver shots, and they land again and again. And he ends up KOing Daniel Cormier. But Cormier has only lost 2 fights in his career. Once against John Jones, another was Miocic, and he KO'd Miocic in the first fight. Difference in this fight, I think, Cormier is going to be able to use his wrestling more. He had a bad back in the last fight, so he says. So I'm expecting takedowns from Cormier, coming out with some strikes early on, but transitioning to wrestling pretty fast. And we'll see at that point who starts taking over. If Miocic can stop those early takedowns, I think he'll tire Cormier out and eventually get a KO. But if Cormier is able to land his takedowns, he'll tire Miocic on the ground. Because once Cormier's got the takedown, I don't think he's letting him back up. Man, yeah, this was a tough one to call. Cormier got pretty out of shape between fights here. Had to cut a lot of weight. Or not cut a lot of weight, but lose a lot of weight in his training camp just to get in shape. But I got to root for Cormier. I think he's going to get this one done. He's putting everything on the line. This is his last fight. I got Daniel Cormier by decision win. All right, those are my picks. I'll see you for the next card.